welcome to this Masterclass today, May 20th, at Klavierhaus.
Turn it on. Turn it on.
I don't know how to turn it on.
There's a switch on the side. Not this on.
Okay. Thanks. Testing. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this New York Piano Society Masterclass on this day, May 20th, at Klavierhaus. Thank you to Klavierhaus, Sujatri Reisinger, and James Wu for making this happen. I'm super excited to introduce my dear friend, Adam Golka, who's an incredible pianist, super virtuoso, thoughtful musician. We've known each other since we were teenagers, half an hour ago. Without much further ado, here's Adam Golka. Take it away.
Great. Should I just introduce myself?
I think we have a mic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, great. Hello. Hello to everybody who's there out. I don't know which camera to look at, but thanks for joining. And I'm so excited to hear two new friends play Chopin and Schumann, respectively. So would you like to introduce the piece you will play now?
I'll be playing the Opus 10, number 4 Etude by Chopin. And my name is Fred Gauthier. Thank you. I started it 20 years ago. I left it aside for 19 years, and then I picked it up 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Okay. So it's not a new piece, but it's
been nursed. It's been nursed for a long time.
cooking in the...
Tackled technically maybe really in the last 2 weeks.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I think it's well on its way. So I think there's a lot of ways we could slice this cake, but what I like very much about your playing is that, first of all, the sound, especially in the loud playing, never goes to a point of any kind of harshness or anything. I like very much your approach, and you're always phrasing, which is great. I think that sometimes the differences in articulations actually could be considerably more pronounced. For instance, in the beginning, the accompaniment in the left hand is eighths with dots, right? But then sometimes there are accents with slurs, accents without slurs. And on top of that, Chopin, of course, marks pedal markings. I don't know if your edition has pedal markings, which sometimes are marked even with staccatos, right? So I think that means that there is a lot of different possibilities of articulations, whether it's dots with pedal, dots without pedal, and then longer notes, which I think really have to come out, especially because in the beginning, they happen sometimes on the syncopations. You know, on the second beat, on the fourth beat here, you know, these things that really make the music much more exciting because of the expectation that's set up and then the syncopation that comes in and interrupts it. Have you ever tried playing it? May I sit down for a second? Have you ever tried playing it just with music that goes by so fast and is so complex? I like to find little tricks for my ears to sort of teach my ear some of the different layers to listen for. Have you ever tried something like this? Where you take out basically all the extra. Have you done something like that before?
I have a little bit. I've been mostly trying to get it up to a respectable speed.
Uh-huh.
So I've been working more on the sort of dexterity part of it.
Right. But I just played it with very fast, actually. My tempo was very fast now, right? That's a good way to play in a very fast tempo, is just take out a quarter of the notes. But I think that's actually a very good method, especially for paying attention to the articulation differences that I'm talking about. So could I ask you to try a little bit of that? Let's do it slow, something like this. And I would love it if you could play this as a beautiful legato line, but the left hand. That's not right. Yeah, if you could try that. Bravo. So you obviously have this in your ear, which is great. So now, when you're actually playing in a faster tempo, one of the things of this piece that I think is tricky is that constantly we have to be adjusting the minute shape of the hand, right, to accommodate the thumb on the white key and then on the black key, and then there's many different positions that happen here. So have you experimented also? Here's another method. With playing clusters of the groups that the fingers fall under. Is that something you've done?
Only at the very end, where there's all these dissonances. So like the...
Oh, there, yeah, right, okay. In the climax.
Yeah.
try it in the beginning, because I think it's good to do that and really feel which finger is lower, which is higher, and the position of the thumb. Is it, is it like this? Is it like this? The fingers, are they more flat? Are they more rounded, whether on the white key or the black key? I think that's very important to developing the dexterity that you're looking for here. Yeah, well, obviously not. Yeah, there's a different kind of thing. But yeah, so that awareness and the changeability of it. I think why don't we just take this and go back and forth for a second, and you can even just close your eyes and just try to really feel the shape of your hand and fingers and how they adjust to each of those 4 different positions. Why don't we just take just these 4 and just go back and forth? Yeah, and the next one too. Good. And now, very fast, and really feeling what you just experienced in blocks. So there is an element, a lot of what happens, I think, is between the thumb and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th fingers. The changing happens because this part of the hand is, of course, different than this, right? So the changing of the position happens a lot, I think, between the thumb and these fingers together. And I might even try this. Can you try that for a second? Yeah, so that's just a little game you can play, to develop it. But now, why don't we try yet something else to address the articulation thing I was talking about. Can you do just the left hand alone? You know what I meant is the accompaniment. I shouldn't articulate that clearly. I'd love to hear the left hand and then go to the right hand there. But while we stopped, do you notice that the tempo here is quite different than the beginning? This is quite a bit slower than this. So try it one more time, and even though it's staccato, try to really make a phrase. Imagine that it's legato, but play staccato. Yeah. So when do you think when do you think they switch? In which moment?
On the fourth beat.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important. That's sort of when the relay race happens, right? I mean, tag your it. Yes, and then go on with the right hand. And switch. Yes. So in my mind, if I may sit down for a second, I think it's really important to practice this piece just conceptually in that way, so that the material is really in our deep subconscious belonging correctly together. So I would practice this piece really. And then I would reverse it and practice rather than practicing hands separately, I would actually practice like that, so that your mind is really in sync with those changes, and that it's automatic in a way, that it's in your subconscious that that boxing match is happening in this piece. I don't know, maybe it's a more creative way of practicing than just hand separate. But let me ask you, so what kind of practicing do you do with this piece?
I've done mostly rhythmical, switching over what note gets the beat essentially in the groups of 4.
Can you show me?
So like.
Oh, that's
that.
interesting. I've never done anything like that. Okay.
What else?
So I'm learning from you.
I got,
Good.
There's a few.
Oh, is
Cortot
this the
exercises.
Cortot exercises?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what he suggests?
Yeah, he's got all the rhythmical permutations you can think of.
Oh, interesting. Can I take a look?
Yeah.
I have this at home, but I haven't looked at it in a long time.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, but the thing, the danger of practicing in rhythms like that and doing all sorts of accents that are, a bit artificial, it's a great method. It's just the question is, can you also make music when you do an exercise like that, yeah? Because, of course, you can bring out, let's say, sure, it could be a good exercise to sharpen the brain and the fingers and, what you're looking for, but it still can be a phrase. I think that's a danger in practicing etudes or any very difficult virtuoso passages that any pianist face, is that when you do that sort of work, the slow work, the rhythm work, anything like that, does it really make sense to take, to do it as a kind of a dry exercise? For some people it does. For me, I don't know, not so much. So I think it's important to do that, but still make a phrase, regardless of what you're doing. So you practice and you shift the accent, and you do that for the whole piece, or?
Well, I'll do sections, and then I'll do one left, one right, and then I'll.
Okay.
I've done a lot of metronomic, like trying to get everything in place at 40 per half note, and then bring it up to 50, and then 60, and then
little by little.
Crash and burn as I go faster.
No, and that's a very good method. That's a very good method. Good. Do you want to play a little bit from the beginning again? I'll just let you kind of get back into a flow and just listen a little. I'll go over here. If I may, so as far as the articulate what I was saying, may I sit down for a second? I think that one of the elements that could help is, there's a sort of slingshot thing that happens throughout this whole piece, right? With the fourth beat going to the first. And I think finding really the body language for yourself that helps you start the piece and launch the torrent that comes will help you a lot. So, I think, it's like a bow and arrow, And this, one of the things is that I think it's important, it doesn't feel, if you start with the first beat being emphasized in that way, even though it has an accent, of course, he writes forte piano, but it's still a lighter one than the fourth beat, because I think part of the game of this piece is that there is a tremendous presto excitement feeling coming from the syncopations. So it's an interruption as we start. Whatever. And then not this. So just getting. Can you try that for a second? Just the octaves. Don't even play the middle notes, just the octaves for a second. But okay, what I see from your body language is two motions. And what I love to see is da-yum, da-yum. Yeah. So in a way, if you pay attention to my wrists now, it's actually this is good what I'm doing. Try just doing it here. Maybe with your whole hand, a little further down. Yeah.
More like forearm.
Yeah, but, well, I don't know. However it feels good to you will be the right way. But just do it one more time, if you can. Yeah, that's good. Maybe it's a bit more flat, and then it springs off and becomes a bit rounder. Yeah, but both with an accent.
Yeah.
Just a different kind of accent. Down accent and up accent. Uh-huh. Okay, now try the beginning with that, just 2 octaves a couple times. Da, yum. Yes. Yeah, that's good. That's very good, very good. So try that again and prepare for the 4th measure interruption that happens psychologically right now, and start as wonderfully as you just did, and then keep playing a little bit. And then, uh-huh. Yeah, that makes a difference. That gives it a much more scintillating shape, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it feel to you?
Yeah, I think it gives it more. It's also less 4x4.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is that I think sometimes when we do all sorts of rhythmic and accented practice to develop the fingers and all that, the danger is that we also subconsciously equalize a lot of the musical values of the piece, you know. But the fact is that it's if I may for a second, you know, these lines that happen here. This is a beautiful melody, you know. It could almost be. I mean, it's no different than that. It's just fast, you know. The character's different, of course. So the important thing is that no matter how fast we play, and no matter how good our fingers do the job, it still has to be there in the feeling. To feel that melody. A little bit like, do you listen a lot to, I don't know, cello playing or violin playing, things like that? You said you play violin, right? Yeah. So you know how in the Bach sonatas and partitas, sometimes there's just one line of music, not unlike a Chopin etude, you know, something like, and it's one line of music, but secretly behind it, behind just those notes, and Bach, of course, doesn't give us any markings or anything, but behind those notes, there are all these secret melodies and a whole complex sort of skeleton of voice leading with a bass line and a soprano, and it happens in back of those notes. It's not on the page, but it's there, you know? And so in that same way, I would just say, make sure to have that framework, musically speaking. And the framework for me really is essentially the play between the 4th beat and the 1st beat, which he varies so much. Because you see, not only did we talk about this gesture, which then becomes T, and then he adds this little 2nd, 3rd beat one, right? T, T, and then he has a variation on that. T, 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 pa, pa, dum, 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 yum, pa, T. But this one's different because this changes the material, right? Yum, bum, 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 bum. And then he reverses it. Instead of being 4-1, 4-1, he goes 1-4, 1-4. And back to this. I cheat here. I saw you do this very honestly, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Well.
It says here, this is forbidden to cheat.
Yeah,
Literally.
well, right. But you've heard Courteau's recordings, right? Okay. Yeah, look, Courteau's one of my idols. I'm being facetious, of course, but I appreciate that. I think there are places in music you can redistribute, and there are places you can't. Maybe this is a place you can't. I just noticed now that I cheat here. I've been cheating here for years, and I forgot about it. Maybe it's not good. Maybe do what you're doing. But then, we really have to practice those positions that we were talking about at the beginning. So do you want to do this slowly for a second? Just right hand. And just the right hand there, very slowly. Yes. Great. So now we can learn this together, because I can't actually play the way it's written either. I mean, you can do it. I can't do it. So now we can learn together the hand positions, and then we both come away with something. So do you mind if I try for a second? I mean, you're doing that very well. But I think that what will help you with the speed is that there has to be a real awareness of the infinite possibilities you have here. You see, this is one hand position. And for instance, in order to have 2, 3 on the white keys and 4 and 5 on the black keys, where is my wrist in relation to that? So, and what's the position of my fingers? I'm not asking that necessarily intellectually, because there's no time to think about that, right? It's more just a feeling. I'm not thinking about it. I'm spelling it out for, let's say, whoever's watching us on those cameras, but for you it's a question, I think, and for me, of feeling really the position. See, I even feel when I'm playing this position and this one, I feel changes happening here in my muscles. Everything's changing the shape of my body, so that I can really do this and this and this and this. And I think rather than even practicing, slow and in rhythms, we have to practice sculpting our body into, I don't like sculpting, because sculpting sounds like marble or bronze or something. This is more like clay or putty, right? Yeah. So this, and then this. So without the thumb, if you don't mind, for a second, let's do this. Just the first 3 beats. Which sounds like a Ligeti etude. Maybe that's where he got it from. So the first one is just the 2 notes, right? I mean, musically, maybe you don't agree, but musically, I think that it's. So those are the groups in my mind. I'm thinking of one line up, right? Okay, so just between those 2, can you really feel, let's think one piece at a time. Play this and then this, and think of your fingertips. Just the fingertips as you do that. Just back and forth. Yeah. And you can even maybe close your eyes to feel it better. Just go back and forth between those 2, and just feel the fingertips. And after you've done that a few times, think of the first joints in those fingers. Oh, but those are not the right notes. It's an A flat, right? Yes. The A flat stays, right? Yeah. Okay. No, let's not go on. Sorry, I want to try an exercise. Just these 2. Yep. Okay, and the next one. And now think of the first joints and then the second joints in your fingers, and then sort of move throughout your hand, through the palm, through the wrist, as you do go back and forth, just to feel it. Feel the changes in your. Yes. And wrists and elbow, and just sort of scan yourself as you do that, so you can find the utmost flexibility in adjusting. So can you tell me what you're thinking about, or how it feels, or bring me into what that's like? Or not, or even if it's not useful, please tell me. I'm just curious.
In a way, I'm doing them exactly the same way, because I'm trying to loosen my hand so it's just in place, and so I can't, it's almost, I don't know, it sort of gets into position naturally, in a a sense, so I don't think too much of, oh, I'm this way and then I'm that way.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of just, I mean, one problem I have with the speed is that I start tightening and then I lose the shape and I lose the form. And,
Right.
And so.
That's what I'm trying to get at, though, because I think that when we play fast, a difficult piece, and obviously we get tight, this idea like, oh, just let's relax or let's release tension as we're in the heat of this music. It's not a relaxed piece, you know. That's sometimes a misnomer. And for me, what I find helpful, I mean, it's very personal, but what I find helpful is to build body awareness as I work on a piece, so that I don't have to think, okay, relax, but rather that I just have access to feeling those things, so that when I'm playing, I can feel my wrist, I can feel my knuckles, I can feel my elbow, I can feel it, and just by feeling it, automatically it's more relaxed, right? Because you're aware of it. It's not a place that you're holding unnecessary tension, only because you're aware of it. So in a way, that's sort of what if I may for a second, that's sort of what I'm inviting you to do here, is that I think by practicing the shapes and just practicing, just thinking to myself, okay, now I'm going to think about what is my elbow doing? Oh, okay. Now what is my shoulder doing? Let's see. See, I started moving my feet because I wear my feet. That wasn't good. You know, now I'm sitting better. But all of that affects how we play a very virtuoso, very fast piece, is that awareness. And from what I saw of when you were playing this in a faster speed, is I think all the possibilities of this, you know, the knuckles, they can go like this, and you can kind of can you close the hand so that the knuckles become kind of round, and then flatten it so the knuckles are in a straight line? Yeah, so you see that let me see. Yeah, exactly. Right, so it's almost like you have a tennis ball in your hand, and then you flatten. I feel like that's what this piece is so largely about, is being able to do that. Which it's not that you're not doing; you are doing it, and you're already playing this piece very well. But I think that's sort of the kind of awareness work you can do that will make it, you know, even that next step. So maybe let's look at this place for a second. Why don't we play it very slowly? You can do both hands now, even slower than that. And for now, why don't we focus on the shape of the tennis ball in our hand? Is it a round tennis ball, or do we flatten it out because it has no air in it? And let's change the shape and just play that little game with yourself about the shape of the ball you have in your hand as you play these two measures hyper slowly. Yeah. What's your experience doing that? Whoops. I mean, no, there's no answer I'm fishing for. I'm just honestly curious. What, you know, is that different kind of awareness than you felt before in your hands?
I feel like I have the time, and I feel like when it's full speed, it's like I don't have either the mental capacity to process that. So I feel like, at this tempo, I can sort of get more in tune with how things feel and how they should feel, I suppose, and give direction to the lines.
Right.
Which I feel like
you can't do when it's faster.
When it goes faster, I'm so preoccupied with getting the notes that I start. It sort of hampers the lines and makes them very straight, and it loses a bit.
The shape that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So, in a way, if I can play devil's advocate for a second, is it possible that this method of sort of in a slow practice, trying to bring in deeper, new awareness of what you're doing, you know, with your hands, your fingertips, everything we're talking about, all these things. Is it possible that by creating the space for those things in a slow practice and increasing the tempo from there and from that awareness, that maybe when you play it fast, eventually it won't be stressful at all, because all those things will be in there, right? Because obviously when we bring up the speed, we squeeze, right? We tighten, we squeeze, and we panic because, because we practice that into our slow playing, if you think about it. It's practice into our slow playing. And so in the slow playing, I think part of it is that we have to actually create the space in the slow playing. And when I'm saying space, I don't just mean the musical shape. I also mean the body experience, because the musical shape and the body experience are one thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if that awareness is not built into the slow practice, just as I mentioned, when you do different accents, make a musical shape with those accents, because under stress and in a fast tempo in front of an audience, we will immediately go to what we practiced. And so it's this paradox that if we practice defensively, if we practice slow and we have oh my God, what is it going to be like when it's fast? Am I going to freak out? Well, if that's already there, then of course we will, right? Not that you are in command of it already in so many respects. So this is just sort of, this etude is something every pianist, whether it's Courteau or Martha Argerich or anybody, they could spend their whole lifetimes working on it, because it's just one of those pieces. It's a treasure chest of discovering so much about one's hands, oneself. Now, I'm probably going a bit over time, but are there any places that you have particular questions about that I could be helpful with?
I mean, part of the challenge was trying to put this together in a couple of weeks.
It's fantastic what you did, yeah, just fantastic.
And the reason why I picked this was because I guess technique is probably my weakest point, and I was kind of wanted the challenge to see if I could rise to the occasion and maybe get some tips on how I can get my speed to sort of like the recordings we hear.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is you got to take it 5 notches slower, master that first, and then.
I actually would want to challenge you on the way you verbalize some of that, if I may, if you're open to it. Sure. Because you say like my technique is my weak point. First of all, from the quality of playing you presented, I don't think that's true at all. I think your technique, I see absolutely no problems with your technique, really. It's great and it works, and you're playing this difficult piece very well with good quality of sound. So I don't really believe that statement that there's any problem or weakness there. Honestly, I really don't think there is.
I mean more in I feel like I can get it to comfortably 2/3 of the speed I would like to be able to play that.
Yeah. I get that. But the reason I'm picking on what you said about technique is because I would challenge you personally to not think of it as an abstraction from everything else, but maybe actually to try to think of technique and the body experience and the phrasing and the articulation and how the music is constructed. For instance, the 4/1 and the way he plays with that. What about thinking of all that as one thing and not as a separate thing, not as a technique thing? Because in a way, when you played fast, I think your fingers were playing the notes quite well. Maybe it wasn't the speed you wanted, but it was good. But some of the phrasing things maybe didn't come out as much as they could, and that is also technique, right? It's all one thing. So I guess my challenge and my personal advice would be to actually think of it not as an abstraction, not to think of technique as an abstraction, but rather to think about the experience you're having as you're practicing slowly or playing fast, and trying to create as much space as possible there for the physical experience, for the phrasing, for the structure of the music, and building the speed from there, not with the goal of hitting the bullseye of playing a certain speed, which you will anyway. I mean, I guarantee it. There's no way you won't. I mean, if you can do this in 2 weeks, I mean, in 2 months or in 2 years, you'll play at any speed you absolutely want. But the question is also, is that a good goal?
Right.
You know, is that a good goal? I know you're the kind of musician I can feel from your playing that that's not really your goal, right? So that's sort of my philosophical suggestion about it. Sorry, I got very existential. I apologize. Is there anything else practical in terms of fingerings or anything like that I can?
That part I think is okay. The mechanics are okay. I was just trying to see what how I should go about perfecting it from here. So
Okay.
thank you.
You know, one thing I might suggest, just a few little superficial things. If I could sit down for a second. Maybe you could experiment with being more singing here, because this is such a different kind of line than the rest of the piece, isn't it? For once, there's not so many staccatos, and it has these soaring leaps. This T, especially that, to feel, you know, since you play violin, you know, the way you would reach up for the note. And you can even have a little bit of rubato in the left hand, you know? Even in a fast tempo, it's discrete, but if you build in that flexibility expressively, it can shape the right hand. I wouldn't play the left hand too evenly. I might play this a little slower, and then faster, slower. That's a hyper exaggeration in a slow tempo, but in a fast tempo too. You know, it can be very subtle, much more subtle than that, but there's something there that gives it more expressive possibility, and then you won't have to feel that this is a jump, but you'll feel that it's a whatever. What kind of FZ with a dot is that for you? You did them the two quite differently, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But how would you describe it in terms of character? What that is? Was it? Do you have some kind of image in your mind, or some kind of physical motion, or something?
Well, I kind of contrast it with, well, I suppose.
This is different. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I guess this one's more raspy. Some people play this one a bit like, but I don't know. I try to. It's more of a bit more gut wrenching, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the approach.
Did you ever think of maybe tearing?
Right.
If you just imagine that there's a piece of paper here, I like to do that sometimes, and just, you know, rip it this way, and you can even with the hand a little bit. Do you want to just try that for a second, and imagine somebody's pulling your hand from here, and then it just. Please play wrong notes. Play as many wrong notes as you want. No, just do only the left hand. Just the left. Yeah. Yeah. May I, for a second? No. Sorry. If you could sit down. May I just for a second lift your hand as you do that? Okay. Sorry. Just this way. This way. Yeah.
You mean like the lip?
Yeah.
The wrist? Or?
Just come. Imagine that somebody is peeling, like, you know, the film that comes on like a certain, on food, and you have to peel the thing. Imagine that somebody peels your hand this way. That's good. Yeah. That sounds interesting, huh? It's just a possibility. I mean, there's no right way to do it. It's just an idea. And then I noticed that the fermata, you didn't really do it. I think
I threw in the towel.
you threw in the towel, but you didn't need to, because it was a success.
Yeah.
So you didn't need to throw in the towel. I think it's very exciting if you really hold it, you know, and then there, in a way, may I for a second? You know, stay with it. and then release it, because there's also an energy in the holding and releasing of that. I think he wouldn't have, if he wanted people to go, he would have written it differently. He could have even written a staccato with pedal. It would like he did here, but he didn't. So for me, it's more something like that. But of course, you have to find your own sort of belief about it. But do you want to just try the end? Maybe play the coda somewhere, wherever you want, just to close it out. Yeah, I think at least that long, because I mean it is 4 beats with the fermata, right? And I think there's a tremendous excitement in just staying with it, Good. May I sit down for a second? I think that you could also practice phrasing a bit more. I would simplify for myself, that's what I would do. Simplify. There are so many ways of phrasing it. I mean, you could, or you could, or maybe make a longer one. I would practice many different options so you have the freedom in the performance. But this is going back to the existential conversation about technique and all that, because I think we really have to practice the phrasing in that way. Like really, really, really practice it, and don't think of it as a separate practice from technique. This is practicing technique. Your body is learning how to make the phrasing adjustments, even without all the notes. So anyway, that's my philosophy on it. But bravo, I mean, amazing that you did this in 2 weeks, and it's already sounding, professional and brilliant. And
Almost.
Yeah, seriously, just keep going. I mean, I can't wait to hear it in 2 weeks. I hope I can hear it, in 2 weeks after that. Thanks so much.
Great.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. Thanks. So how much do you feel like playing at the carnival?
Everything other than I pretty open. So would you recommend just doing bits and pieces, or should I just stop whenever?
No, I mean, I just want to be helpful to you.
I want to do.
So.
I want to just play through and just get general feedback on it, and how the colors are and the contrast across the piece, and general feedback on it.
And how much would, I mean, what have you been working on in the piece? How much would you like to play of it? I mean, just one movement or several movements?
I think several movements.
Okay.
I can do. I can start promenade and then do Dawn Slippers, and then just wind up with Paganini variation.
Oh, so you want to start in the middle of the piece?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or but with the preamble.
Starting. Sorry, which one did you say?
Dawn Slipper. You can do the preamble, and then I can start.
Dance let. You
Dance
dance
let.
the letters. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
From there. Great.
Oh, sorry.
Where
From
is that?
preamble, and then Dawn Slip is. I'll just play preamble and then do skip a whole bunch and start.
Great.
Hi, I'm Arpan. I'm playing selections from Schumann's Carnival.
I can feel you love this piece, and you have a big imagination, and that's great. How long have you played this piece?
A couple of months.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Great. And what drew you to this piece?
I love Schumann.
You love Schumann, yeah.
Teachers gave a few options. I was like, okay, I'll try Carnival. And the left-hand part seemed very challenging, and I thought I could improve my technique a lot on those. So.
The left-hand part.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so actually that might link a little bit to what I'd like to talk about a little, because I think something really important in all three of the movements you played is the balance. Yeah, and so that's something. Is that something you've worked on or you've talked about a bit?
Yeah.
And it's challenging. And you know, already in the opening, in the chorus, if I may sit down for a second, it can be a little bit dangerous if the sound of the in the chords, if the left hand is overpowering. You see, it in a way gives the right hand. It's a little bit like having the water kind of up to here, you know, and the right hand can't really breathe enough and get the sound that it wants, you know. So I think there's quite a big difference between hear that and yeah, you hear that, right? So I really want to work on this proportion because I can feel that you have a tremendous love and enthusiasm for this piece, which is fantastic, and that must stay because it's fantastic. But somehow, at the same time, I think the left hand has to the left ear maybe has to learn how to sort of identify the balance considerations so that your sound actually can be even more enthusiastic and even bigger, but through the magic of balance. Can we work on that a little bit in the opening? Yeah. So there are basically 3 notes in this chord, right? And each one is repeated twice, right? Did you ever think about that in terms of like the middle of your left hand, the middle of your right?
Yeah.
It's the same note, right? Can you play just those 2 by themselves?
The middle notes?
The middle notes of the 2 hands, yeah. But without, sorry, I mean just the very first note. Nothing more, just the very first note.
Okay.
So I mean just the A flats, yeah. But now play them as if it was played by one hand. Make a real just beautiful octave sound with those 2 A flats. Yes, good. And now can you play just the 2 E flats? The 2 E flats, yeah? Without the A flats. Without the A flats, just the E flats.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Good. One more time. Yeah, imagine like a trumpet sound. Yeah, oh nice, that had more bloom. And now just the trombones, the 2 C's by themselves. Yeah, a couple times. So you see you have all these maybe trumpets, then the A flats maybe are the horns, and then you have maybe the trombones. Did you ever think of it that way in terms of the fact that the hands are sharing the 2 A flats, the 2 E flats,
like
the 2?
orchestrally, not
Yes.
necessarily just brass, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now play just that chord again and try to hear those 3 octaves at the same time: the 2 C's, the 2 A flats, and the 2 E flats. No, sorry, just the first chord. Yeah, so what I like to do when I'm working on chords, if I may, sometimes I like to just play and just listen, see it, test my ear. Can I hear all of those things? Okay, do I hear the? Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, it's just to teach the ear to listen. So maybe do what I did a little bit. Play the chord first, the whole chord. Okay, and now play just the C octave. In the pedal, yeah, just the C octave. And just the A flat octave. And just the E flat octave. But leave it all in the pedal and just do it back and forth, all of those options. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's fun to hear that, right? So this is just a framework for a way of listening. So as you play the whole introduction, I want to invite your ears to sort of savor those beautiful ringing sonorities, you know, the resonance that comes from that. The second chord, can you play the second chord now all together? Same thing, right? 2 D flats, 2 Fs, 2 A flats. So that orchestration in your mind, I would love for you to just listen to that all the time as you're playing this first line. So can you now play the first line of the piece in a slower tempo than you would do in a performance, but fortissimo and with the same enthusiasm that you had before? Much better. Do you notice that when you get here, the middle voices in your orchestra, whatever they might be in your mind, you said you hear other instruments too, right? Not just brass.
Yeah, I think.
What else do you hear?
Brass and strings.
Strings.
Sorry.
So maybe the strings are in the middle, right? Or are the strings on the outside?
Yeah, like the bass line just going.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So do you hear the strings on the outside of your hand or in the middle of your hand?
In the middle.
In the middle. Okay, so now pay attention more to the strings in your hand here, because sometimes, especially when you play the shorter notes, I don't really hear the quality of the middle very well. Yeah, so this is in a way, if I may sit down for a second, this is in a way related to what we were talking about the Chopin, this incredible flexibility of the hand, that the hand changes shape all the time, right? So when you have, this stays in the same notes, but it doesn't stay in the same hand position, right? Because this is one hand position, and that's another. I mean, every hand is different. For my hand, if you see, when I'm down on the white keys for the Gs, my fingers are a little bit straighter here. That's what I've discovered works for me. But then when I do this, naturally these fingers are more like this. Even in that short span of time, they adjust because the pinky and the thumb go for the A flat, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So can you just try? Going back and forth and feeling that changing hand position? Uh-huh. Can you try for me now just this? With relatively flat fingers, the second and third, and now with relatively curved fingers. And now back and forth, those two. Yeah. So you see how much possibility you have in there, right? Those fingers can be so flexible in adjusting, and this is really what I think affects the quality of sound we get in big chords. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're playing Tchaikovsky concerto or whatever. You know, there's still a suppleness in the hand adjusting to the needs. So yeah, now try the chord together, just from those two exactly. Uh-huh. How does it feel and sound to you?
Like more sonorous?
Yeah, much more sonorous and more balanced, and you're also not dropping out your orchestra strings in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like you were before. Now it's all there. So that's a big quality thing. And in a way, that might be a key for you in terms of the quality of sound here as well, because the A flats, the French horns we talked about, they also have to change. Something has to change in that second finger between this and this. I mean, this is in a different part of the key, right? You're going from white key to black key to white key. But the second finger adjusts. For me personally, that means that this is a bit more flat when I start, and this is a bit more curved, and then I switch. Actually, can you just try that mirror image of the second finger? Yeah, I just experiment with it for a second. Just practice it for a second. Yeah, good. Okay, and now I'm going to shut up and let you play the whole first line. Don't do it in the full tempo, but give yourself space to try to be aware of some of these things and let yourself make mistakes. I don't care if don't screw up if you need to. It doesn't matter. Just play it. One more time, and just be careful of of this. Yes. rhythm, I'm afraid, is not quite correct.
Yeah.
This is an eighth note, right?
Yeah.
Dim da dum, bum bum, ba ba, and then it's fast again.
Yeah.
Good. Why don't you do it one more time?
From the first line?
Wherever you want. That rhythm has to really be. There have to be two 16th notes in there, right?
Yeah.
Dim ba bum, da da dum. Yeah, I think that's very important because Schumann is trying to, I think, bring our attention to the F flat because the F flat is so different than the F natural here. So if you play the same rhythm,
Would you take a bit more time to show the difference?
yeah, I think you're doing it too fast. I think that you're playing this the same as you're playing this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it has to be an echo for the audience of this, so the audience goes, aha, it's the same as the beginning, except now the mood is completely different. You're still a little impatient getting. Yes. Let's try that again. That was good. That was very good. Just play bum ba bum. Yeah. Okay. So, what fingering are you doing in the right hand there? Did you ever try putting a 3 on the second beat? So, what I do, I switch. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have your orchestra, in your mind, then and you're listening to that C flat as part of the beautiful blend you're conducting, then find a fingering that really works very well. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Sorry. So
Is that too much?
it's not a question of much. It's a question of balance. May I sit down for a second? The balance of these chords is, you're thinking of an orchestra, so I guess you probably listen to the Schumann symphonies.
Yep.
Yeah, so Schumann symphonies, they have that wonderful brass, and the brass in a great orchestra has like a very round, warm sound, right? So I think one of the ways to get that from the piano is to really, really notice for yourself how many notes you have of each note. I mean, how many, right? So here you have 3 D flats, right? So you've got a hell of a lot of D flat, right? But then you have only 2 A flats and only 1 F. So, in terms of the quality of the sound, if you play a lot of D flats, does that sound rich and warm?
No.
No, it doesn't. If I play a lot of the A flats, okay, that's one option. But if I play now with a favoring of the F, it's better, right?
Yeah.
So just be aware of proportion. I would switch your middle finger here. 3-2, yeah. And practice that. Yeah.
Why do you go from 3 to 2? Like just a different finger will make it more.
Because hand position is very important to me, as obviously I'm a broken record about it. And I think if you keep the same finger, if you keep 3, look, it could work for your hand. It's possible. I don't want to be militaristic about it, but the point is, just like in the beginning, we talked about the middle of the hand adjusting to the shape of the chord. Mm-hmm. The same thing here. If you play the same finger, unless that finger is extremely flexible, which it might be, the problem is you're not going to have a very good quality of sound for those 2 chords, which in a very quick amount of time you have to find the quality of the chord. So for me, switching to 2 is more guaranteed good quality, because this is a good, you see, this is a good hand position, 1, 3, 5, and 1, 2, 5, that feels good.
Yep.
But if I play the same finger, it feels a little weird. Yeah. It takes some practice, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for you. Okay, go on. Okay, so just play those last 3 chords, which are tricky, before the end of this section. And slowly, and I want you to now just have your ears listen sharply to the balances and decide for yourself what you think would improve it.
The change, the D flat's the same, so I think. And then the G as well, that's not repeated anywhere else. The G.
Okay, very good. And what about the proportion between the hands? Can you listen for that now? Okay, what I hear, if I may, what I hear from you a little bit is...
What is it?
You got 4 A flats in this chord, and both C's are on the right hand. So if you play them, see that the right hand has no room to breathe, right? I'm playing this mezzo, between mezzo piano and mezzo forte, left hand, and the right hand is fortissimo. Can you think of it like that for a second? Imagine mezzo piano, left hand. Yes, and the pedaling is tricky for the last note, but yeah, you don't want to hear the B flat in the last chord, right? So, no, you're almost there. You had it a second ago. I think you just have to find a way to grab the new pedal without, you might have to have a little gap between those. Better, yes. Makes sense? Okay, go on. I love your enthusiasm. It's fantastic, really. No, it's not a question of too fast. You're.
I want that chaotic dance, like people just.
Absolutely, I do too, and that I don't want to lose that. But I think that when Schumann writes sempre fortissimo, I think it's more of an emotional marking than a dynamic marking. Yeah, especially in the left hand. So I want to talk about that for a second. If I could sit down, I think the left hand. First of all, do you think it's a dance of some kind?
Yeah, it's dance the syncopation. It's weird. It throws you off, and then
What kind of dance is it, though?
I don't know. I'm not well versed in names of dances.
But it probably could be.
I don't. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not. It's not. It's in 2 and then 3. So
There's that play of that. Yeah. But it's some kind of waltz, right? I think that this implies that it's some kind of a waltz, right? There's do yup up, yeah, and then of course he plays with it. But already from here, what I feel from you a little bit is I feel a little bit. I want to feel that it's a waltz, and for it to feel like a waltz, the second, third beats in your hand, I think, have to have a little bit of a different shape. Yeah, because so if you really look at what I'm doing physically. You see, I'm playing them all the same, which I don't think is so good. I would want to play. It's in a way the same way we were talking about the Chopin etude. That doesn't that dance a lot more than right? Yeah. So in slow motion, what I'd love for you to try. I have a great idea. You're going to think this is ridiculous, but if you can just indulge me for a second. I'd like you to try this. but play also with the palm of your hand, just white notes, whatever, everything, just. And the shape of your hand, play flat and then not flat, and then go up with your hand. Yes, exactly.
Something like.
Yeah, but have more courage. Better, yeah, better. Maybe just try a few times, if I may, excuse me.
Yeah.
Just try a few, try. Just go back and forth between doing it the naughty way. Yeah. See, that dances, right?
Yeah.
It's not only exuberant, but it's also dancing. So I want exuberance plus the elegance of a dance. You know, when you're on the Viennese dance floor, you want to have dance steps and not just step on the partner's toes. You know. Yes. Did you ever try cheating? Taking the last A flat? That's what I do. So basically I would go, what makes it easier for me, I don't know how big your hand is, but pretty big, good. So I would do 4, 5, 4, 5 in the right. Because you see, if you practice this, and you learn with your thumb that the motion goes from the black key to the white key, black key to the white key. And then the last one, you just take with the left hand.
You're doing the octave with the left.
Yeah. So then your thumb is free for the third beat, right? Yeah, and then I would end on the third finger in the right hand because it's right there. Third finger, yeah. But then don't forget your left hand. Yeah. I think it's worth practicing that because then it'll be much easier for you. When you're really doing it fast, then it'll sound brilliant. And in contrast to what I said about the Chopin, I now eat my words about the Chopin, and I think that it's true in that place where I admitted that I cheat in the Chopin etude, and Courteau said you shouldn't. I think Courteau is right. I'm going to go home and practice and learn to play it correctly. No, seriously, I think it's true. That's also an etude. That's an etude that's about. It's about learning how to play the piano in new ways. So that challenge is part of the beauty of, discovering the possibility of our hands. But I don't think that's the case here because Schumann was famously not such a great pianist. He approached the piano, I think, more like a repetiteur or something. He wasn't Chopin. So I think that when he writes octaves in the right hand, he doesn't care pianistically how you do it. I don't think. Yeah. Okay, good, we agree. Now, going on here, can you play the left hand alone here? So, which version with your foot do you want? Because I just heard two different options.
I just want to. I do want.
Okay, may I sit down for a second? Because what I hear from you, I hear sometimes this, and then sometimes I hear.
Yeah.
You want that one?
I want some pedal, but in between, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So what I might practice doing, I would basically play non legato because I think this should have a bouncy feeling, right? But then with pedal, I think if you just pedal with each quarter note, did you ever try that? Just like. Can you try just those three measures, nothing more? And okay, let's do it slow. And really change your foot with everyone. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just watching your foot. It seems to me that you have your heel just a little bit in.
Yeah.
Did you ever try? Yeah. How does it feel if you're a little bit more? You might have a little bit more control in your foot. Try it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I notice you're doing in these chords is you're kind of holding the bottom a long time and the right and the top not. What if this was one thing? You see, this is what you're doing. You see how you hold this?
Yeah.
Can you try not to do that, but to make them even? That's better, yeah. Yeah, but I think you're playing too fast, and the quality is not as good as it could be. So yeah, but play slow enough that you can really listen very carefully to what you're doing with the left hand. And the balance, once again, the balance of those chords, the way those three notes meet in your hand and the way they ring in the room, play in a tempo where you can actually savor that. Now, can you add the right hand in the same tempo? Yeah, good. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Can you try when you do the? Can you try to go up with your hand a little bit? Yeah? Yeah, good. Very good. Let's talk about one of the other movements. Oh, no, sorry, one thing in here. Can you play this and balance? Think about balance. So I can barely hear the right hand because the left hand is really loud. Yeah. And dynamically, what do you think it is?
Mezzo-forte, like
Hmm?
going to a mezzo-forte and just building up to it's too loud.
Okay. I don't have Schumann's phone number, but the last dynamic I see is pianissimo.
Yeah, fair.
So my question would be, may I for a second?
Yeah.
This he says pianissimo, piano here, and then pianissimo. Isn't this kind of discovering something new? It's like we're coming out, we had this little, we had a little bit of this. Now we had a little bit of this. And now something starts crawling through the walls here. But it's not really here yet, right? It's not really here until there.
Yeah.
It's still kind of in a distance. So I play this. Even this, I think of piano. Whatever. That's a fortissimo, right?
Yeah.
And think about up here, how much sound can you get out of this part of the piano, and how much here? This is a huge part of the piano, right? So I would be inclined to think more pianissimo. Why don't you try somewhere from there? Yeah. Can you try to play left hand even lighter? That's better. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Try again. So let's talk a little bit about.
That's not a good one to jump from. Jump
No,
to.
no, it's why not? Yeah, I think that if you want to really feel the bouncing, because it's very bouncy, right? I think if you really want to feel the bouncing, in a way, it's really important that you sit very well, because what I see a little bit is this, and it's going to be hard to bounce because there'll be tension in your arms. But if you sit really more upright, your arms will be lighter. So can I sit down for a second just to show you what I mean? Because for me, this is a little low,
Yeah,
actually. Is this too? You like to sit low?
Slightly low. Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I would be beware of is that, you see, right now we're different, but my knees are higher than my hips, which causes quite a bit of strain on my lower back.
Okay.
And what the result is, when I try to lift my hands, actually I can feel it. It feels really tense to lift my hand right now, because this is just too low for me. So that's my gauge. So I like to sit so that my knees are at least a little lower than my hips, than my pelvis, because the moment I do that, I can breathe easier now. Actually, feels so much better. And also now I'm much more grounded. My spine, I should have done it earlier when I was demonstrating. But now, you see, I can really bounce very easily because there's no tension in my lower back. I can lift my arms easily, and now gravity can do its magic. But as soon as I am lower and I'm a little hunched, it feels like a door that won't open or something, you know? It doesn't feel good. So this is kind of a superficial consideration in a way, but it might have a profound consequence for you if you try it. If you try to sit maybe a little higher, see how that feels. But most importantly, that you find a way to sit that the bouncing is not happening here with your, that's a danger, but that it happens really here. And then it's much more fun to play, actually. Do you want to just try sitting right there and let me see what the proportions are? Yeah, that might be too high for you because, well, maybe something in between.
Yeah.
See what it's like. See what it's like. But make sure you're sitting really well, that your skull is. But now your arm is, your elbow doesn't have the low. I think you're too far. Yeah, maybe.
Well, the only my knee gets.
Yeah, I have the same problem. I know. Yeah, how does that feel? That's better, yeah. So, I think that what we need to work on in this one is a little bit the quality of the left hand. Can you do the left hand slow?
On its own?
Yeah, on its own. So what kind of dance do you think this? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you see, even if you play something slowly or hands separately, this is the same thing as some of the Chopin etude. Don't take the music out of it. Even if we're doing it as an exercise, because even physically, if you look at my hand, I don't play. But if there's a waltz, so you see, even the position of the hand for these two chords is not exactly the same. It's living and breathing it, right? Good.
You ignore the pedal marking. Is the pedaling fine? I'm kind of ignoring just puts. I don't know what pedal means in this context.
Yeah, but Schumann does that. Schumann does that in at the beginning of every movement, almost except for one, I think, in this piece,
Chopin,
right?
This is funny. He does it.
He says
Chopin,
exactly.
yeah, even here.
Yeah, so he just means use the pedal, right?
Yeah.
No big deal. Except here.
Here.
So he wants a drier sonority.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is fine. I would just say be careful when you go to octaves in the left hand. I think there's a little bit of a tendency to be a little stiff when you play these. Can you just do this one measure? Okay, what's the dynamic, do you think?
I personally like to do mezzo forte forte, just especially with the harmony.
Yeah, well, but I mean,
He doesn't really say anything other than piano,
but he says dancing letters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are they letters like the I don't know, those huge "I love New York" letters in them, on 6th Avenue, or are they small dancing letters? I think it's this whole thing is relatively miniature and very light. So for me, this is I would say the general dynamic is piano, leggerissimo, and this is maybe piano plus. Not mezzo forte, because I think mezzo forte is. We should save that for other parts of the piece. Can I try how I do it a little bit, and you can see if you like it. So I don't know. There are a lot of possibilities. It could be louder and deeper. But either way, this is some kind of a line. It's not right. It's not. Yeah, always. It's too low again. I'm sorry. I have to. I just can't play like this. But this part of the piano is so huge. I mean, if you look at the size of those strings versus these, it's so huge, and especially a D in a small room.
Yeah.
I think I would hardly ever play the left hand more than some kind of mezzo forte in my mind, in a room like this, because it can become so overpowering so quickly. Sorry, what is this? Maybe if you want to do mezzo forte, do it in your right hand, but definitely not in your left. Then pianissimo. And then he takes the staccatos away, right? That's quite wistful. Yeah, and then this one.
Yeah, I overpowered
But once again, balance between the hands. The moment you do, I mean, it has an accent, and the bass line is very important, but proportionally, you see, the resonance of this note completely destroys what I'm doing here. It doesn't sing. So the resonance. It's fortissimo, but does it always stay fortissimo? I'm not sure. So I think that'll give you a possibility of having many more contrasts of mood if you have that balance right from the beginning. So can you try to find that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you make this one ring even more? Okay. So the thing we've talked about throughout today about exactly. Yes. Yes. There we go. So this was fantastic what you did here.
Yeah.
So beautiful. And then when the octaves came, you went back to the old way. Did you notice it though?
Yeah.
So okay, how would you describe it though? I just want to make sure what's the difference?
Just the balance with the left hand. The
No.
bass line over, the resonance over pop. It takes away from.
Yeah. That's one thing, but there's one more thing. Maybe you didn't know you did it, but you did it so well, so I have to tell you. What you did here is that you stopped doing the same way. You started breathing, you started changing the way you make the sound. And it was so beautiful. I really loved that. But then when you did the octaves, you started doing it the same way. If you find more suppleness in your hand positions, just like we were talking about with the chords, your intention of what you feel about this music will come out so much more stronger because you had a whole level of color and breath and imagination that your hand can suddenly carry out. Yeah. So beware of doing the same thing twice. That's not good. Yeah. There's a change, and you did it here. That's just. Yeah. So try the octaves maybe slowly, and see if you can make that change. Yeah. Go on. Great, but I think there's a wonderful element here in the bottom voice that you're not quite honoring. There's a line. Yeah, and you're letting go of it and not really paying attention to it. Did you say you could reach a 10th?
I tried.
Yeah, can you do that? I think that's important if you can. So, if you feel tight doing that, may sit down for a second, then you have to create the illusion you're doing it. That's your plan B, right? Here you can hold it, obviously. At least put the foot down. You could just put the foot down and keep it for the whole 3 beats. You want to try that? But I lost the A flat. That's so different at the end.
Yeah.
How do you like how it sounds now?
Yeah.
It's much better, I think. Bravo. Hey, thank you so much.
course.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. Pleasure. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Nice to hear you, Arpan.
Thank you.
Frank, yeah.
Thank you, Adam, for being with us and for your wisdom. I learned a lot. So thank you
Thanks.
very much. Okay,
All right.
that's it for today.
Okay.
See, and everyone, don't forget there is a masterclass with Maria Esteriadu on Monday. You can tune in or you can come in. It's much more exciting in person, so join us. Thank you. Oh, and I'm Natasha Boromsky. I'm the artistic director. Again, thank you to James Wu and Klavierhaus and Sujatri Reisinger. Okay, see you Monday.
All right.